Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you today about survival books. Okay, everybody's got their idea of what survival books they need and what they want. Some people have no idea whatsoever what to get, and that's mainly the reason why I'm here. Now, that being said, almost all survival books are good. If you don't have any other resource and you find one for 25 cents as a yard sale and it's not on the list, go ahead and get it. Because every single book out there has got some kernel of information that will help you. You may not be able to use everything in a book, but you can pick and choose what will work for your situation out of every single book out there. Now, I do have favorites. Okay, everybody's talking about the SAS survival books, and that's a great one. They have a little pocket guide that will fit in your pack. And if that's the only book if you can only take one little book, that would be a good one to take. Okay, let's get that one out of the way. It's got a lot of information. Okay, if there's a lot of other things too. Like if a lot of people aren't bugging out. So, vast majority of people cannot bug out for whatever reason. Some people have homesteads, and that's great. There's a series of books that I personally loved. I still have them, and it's called the Foxfire book. It's a series. There's like 10 or 11 books, and then they have what they call an anthology, a Foxfire book anthology or something like that. But it's a whole series of books, and in here it does all kinds of things, from dressing down hogs, snake lore, hunting tales, faith healing, moonshine, log cabin building, let's see, ghost stories, spring wild plant food, spinning, weaving, corn shucking, wagon making, and affairs of plain living, animal care, banjos, hide tanning, summer and fall wild plant foods, butter churns, ginseng, fiddle making, spring houses, horse trading, sassafras tree, berry buckets, gardening, and other affairs. There's like 10 books, and there's all kinds of stuff in them. I've read every one of these books cover to cover. Okay, I know I'm going to do it again because I've forgotten a lot of it. And that's the thing. With the book in hard copy, you can go back and reread it. Okay, and you can keep it in your library for reference material, especially if you're bugging in. This one's got iron making, blacksmithing, bear hunting, all kinds of stuff. The Foxfire books, it's old-timey, the way they did things way back when, okay? Which, if a really serious SHTF happens, we may need, we don't want to forget those skills and that knowledge. Because if you forget them, where are you going to be if something bad happens? You don't want to forget them, okay? But I have the whole book, and it took me a couple of months to get them all. I got them off of eBay and Amazon, different places. You might be able to get ebooks now. Back when I bought these, they didn't have really much in the way. This is a long time ago. I've carried these books around when everything else, and when I got rid of everything else, I kept these books because these books can save my life. So, there's, how to make splits to make chairs. SHTF, 10 years down the road and all the chairs are broken, what are you going to do? You're going to sit on the ground all the time? Well, no, you can make another chair, right? So, it's just things like that. It's got all kinds of cool stuff in here, and stories and pictures, and they're not color pictures. They're almost all black and white as far as I know. But, it's a really good series. Now, we'll get past that one. There's a lot of other books available out there by lots of different authors. One other book I have that I really, really like this book. It's called Stocking Up. Okay, it's how to grow and preserve and grow your food naturally. It's a good book to have, especially if you're homesteading. Okay, Stocking Up is a really good one, and it's written by the editors of Organic Gardening and Farming, Rodale Press. Really good book. I'm fixing to I'm pulling these out because I wanted to reread them, and because my memory fails me. I forget things. Everybody does. It's normal. So what you do is if you reread them and you read them several times, it sticks. Okay? Some people have super good memories where they can read it once and they've got it forever. Okay. Other people like me, sometimes I have to read it 2 or 3 times before I got it. And other times, first time out, I get it and I'm done with it. But those books is actually ones that I have handy. I wanted to show you. There's tons of other stuff. There's like the Tom Brown Field Guides. Okay. Awesome books. Awesome books. There's, where is it? Ben Harris made a book called Eat the Weeds. Okay. Excellent book. I haven't actually read it, but I've seen excerpts from it, and I've had people tell me it's a really good book. The Audubon series. They've got books to all kinds of trees, reptiles, snakes, birds, insects. The Audubon books are really good books. They have whole series of them. There's a guy by the name of Horace Kephart, and he has a book called Camping and Woodcraft. Okay, and this is how it, basically how camping and bushcrafting came about, sort of. It goes way back when. And, you know, we're going to have to take a step back from the modern, okay, if SHTF really happens and it really gets bad, or if an EMP knocks out the power, you know, nationwide, we're going to have to take a step back from all the modern stuff and know how they did it back then, without power, without modern conveniences, okay? So those books are really good to have. Let's see the Foxfire series. There is the Peterson Field Guides. They have one book on animal tracks, and it teaches you about the tracks, the scat, how, you know, all that kind of stuff. A really good book to have, especially if you're going to be doing any hunting and you're not a big hunter and you don't already know all this. So the Peterson Field Guides, and they also have Trees of North America, and I think they have an Eastern and a Western edition, but you'll have to check that out. They have Cody Lundeen. He was in Dual Survival with David Canterbury. He has a book called When All Hell Breaks Loose. Okay, I haven't read it, but I've heard good things about it, so that might be a good one for you to look into. David Canterbury, which is who I'm a big fan of. He's got, I don't know, a bunch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's at least 7 books. I think he's got 10 or 12. Don't quote me. Okay. But he's got books like Bushcraft 101, Survivability, Bushcraft First Aid, Bushcraft Illustrated, Bushcraft Field Guide to Trapping, Wilderness Survival Guide, Advanced Bush Trap. They've got box sets. They've got all kinds of stuff. David Canterbury's got this whole thing going on. And he knows his stuff, okay? He has a school where he teaches people this. And it's over there in, he teaches it in Southeast Ohio. I think this is the main school. And there's actually classes you can take with him. I never could get over there to do it, even when I lived in Ohio. I didn't have the money, and it was the wrong time of year. And then when it was the right time of the year, I couldn't do it. I wanted to, but I couldn't do it. There's a book called The Essential Survival Guide, and it's more of an urban survival guide, and some self-defenses in there. So, you know, I haven't read it, but Really Big Monkey is the guy's name on YouTube. I got some of these book recommendations from him. I've looked around all over for book recommendations because that's what I really want to do, is I want to get a smaller library set up. I want to get a bookshelf with all my survival books and all my stuff, canning, dehydrating, all that stuff. The Ball's Big Book of Canning, of course, is something I plan on getting. Now, there's another book that I think is pretty important. I saw Canadian Prepper highlight this guy on his channel, and it's Joseph Alton. He's got a survival medicine handbook, okay, and I think is Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy, I think is the name of the YouTube channel. They have all kinds of things on there. The medicine handbook. Now this is after SHTF. Oh, sorry. After SHTF, what do you do if so and so breaks an arm? What do you do if you have, you know, an illness or a rash, or there's all kinds of things in there. So he would be a good medical guide. Okay. Let's see, color illustrated wild edible guide for your region. That's not a book. That's just a search parameter for you. You can look it up. Okay. Wilderness Navigation by Mr. Burns, the Burns brothers, actually. Wilderness Navigation, if you're wanting to learn about how to use a compass and how to navigate in the wilderness, that would be a good one for you to get. Because, I mean, you know, if you are out and had to bug out and you get turned around, what do you do? Right? Now, I'm always a proponent of just go downhill. But now that works in a lot of places, but it doesn't work in all places. Okay, some places you go downhill and you're still in the wilderness and it's uphill and downhill. And you don't know which way, if you don't know which way you're going and how to use a compass and figure it out, then you might be heading in the wrong direction. Especially like up in Canada, you know. I mean, how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of wilderness do they have up there? You know, now in the southern United States, the southern half, and in the whole eastern United States pretty much, maybe some regions of the Appalachians might not be the best example, but most places you can just go downhill or look out and see lights, okay? But like an EMP situation, you're going to want to know how to navigate. Enough said. Now, there's also a book like Weeds of the South by Charles T. Bryson, and that gives you all sorts of weeds that for identification purposes. You know, you're going to want at least 2 or 3 good books with color illustrated guides if you plan on foraging for mushrooms. Now, some of them I know just on site, okay? A lot of them I don't. And some of them are toxic. And some of them are toxic if you don't fix them a certain way. So you're going to need to, if you're going to forage for mushrooms, and you probably should in an SHTF situation just to round out your menu, you're going to need to have some really good field guides on mushrooms with color pictures. You know, those, I never could get into the ones that had just the little drawings. Because, okay, this leaf is this way and it's got a serrated edge. Well, how many little leaves with serrated edges are there? So I wanted something with a color guide. And you're going to want to know trees. You know, trees are a big one. Because you can get so much stuff out of trees. So much information comes across that trees that are good. The information that comes across about trees, you know, there's medicines, there's things you can do to make things out of them, of course, you know, wood and all that stuff. You got to know what kind of trees are good for fire drill sets. You need to know what kind of trees are good for bow drill sets, hand drills. See, the hand drills, the baseboard would be wood, but on the hand drill, the spindle would be out of a weed, not a piece of wood. So a lot of people, you know, maybe you can make it work, but there's some wood that won't work at all. So you need to know trees. And I think the Audubon Society, was that the one that had the guide to the trees? Trees of North America. Anyway, Trees of North America is the name of the book. Les Stroud has a book called Survive. Okay. He's a good guy. I wouldn't normally recommend a lot of the television survivalists, but Cody Lundeen, Dave Canterbury, and Les Stroud are all 3 really good ones. I'm not impressed with Bear Grylls at all. I won't watch his stuff because I think he's phony. He may or may not have information in there. I've watched a few of his episodes, but I didn't really care for him, so I quit watching him. That doesn't mean that he's bad, and that doesn't mean that his information isn't good. It's just mean I personally don't like him. But Les Stroud also has another book called Will to Live. Okay, I haven't read either one of them, but I actually had somebody. He went through and made the kit at the coffee can with this book Survive, because there's a list in the back of what to put in for your survival kit. They have like this little checklist, you know. The Boy Scout Handbook. Okay, the Boy Scout Handbook would be a good one. Now, the newer versions aren't as good as the older versions. They had one in 1958 or something. You know, get the older versions of the Boy Scout Handbook if you want more information that might help you, I think. Okay, Weeds of the South by Charles Bryson. Camping and Woodcraft by Horace Kephart. The Audubon books with a guide to trees, reptiles, birds, insects, scorpions, spiders, all kinds of stuff. Hawk's Green Beret Survival Guide. Okay, that from what I understand is a pretty good one. Now they have 2 different versions. They have the big hardback book, and then they have like a pack version, so that you could take it with you. And that's the thing, is you won't be able to take these books with you except for maybe one, maybe two. Okay, so you need to read them, practice them, and know your stuff before you get put into the situation where it's life or death. That's the whole reason why we prepare. At this point, we're preparing mentally. You got to be able to recognize. Everybody can recognize cattail. Everybody can recognize dandelion. Well, I think everybody anyway. People can recognize all sorts of things, and that's fine. But do you know how to tell the different types of trees by their bark in the wintertime? Okay, so you know this tree's got the inner bark's good for whatever the ailment is. Okay, you can't just like, okay, maybe that's an ailment, let's try it and see if it works. Well, no, you want to know before you do it. The knowledge doesn't weigh anything. Of course, the more you know, the less you got to carry. And carrying for me, of course, is a big issue. And I've recently discovered that with my own inch bag. So I need to know more. I need to know more so that when if and when I have to be out in that situation, I know what I'm doing. I already read all this stuff, and it's always, it's in my brain somewhere. I could always pull it out if I had to, but I'm going to read them again. That's why I pulled those out. I pulled out the first 5 books, and I'm going to read those cover to cover. Go on, kitty cat. Go on, get down. Shoot. Okay. I'm going to read those cover to cover again, just to have it in my mind refreshed. Short and long-term memory is an issue for some people because your brain, what it does is it discards it if you don't use it. Okay, a lot of people's brains do that. So if you learned about how to make a basket, you might forget all the details. You still have the basics down there because you've read about it and you know it, but you might forget the details, so that when it comes time to make the basket, you go, how did they finish those edges again? So it's good to know this stuff, and if there's any way you possibly can, you're going to want to try to get some decent books for your home library. And this thing's gone on long enough, so I'm going to quit it now. I'm going to show you my book, my shirt. It says, "Too broke for Sturgis." I went to a party at a Harley dealership in Ohio, and because I couldn't go to Sturgis, and so they had this big party for those that couldn't go, and they gave everybody a free t-shirt. It was pretty fun. So anyway, if you guys would hit the thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, check out my links down below. I would certainly appreciate it, and y'all come back and see me.